What's your search engine optimization strategy for this year? Have we even sat down to think about it? And why do you even need an SEO strategy in the first place? Now, if you've not given it a second thought and you're not sure about where to even start, look, that's okay. You're in the right place, because today we're going to be taking a deep dive into what is currently working in the world of SEO so you can put together the best SEO strategy for your website. What we're going to do is run through all of our combined experience from over the past 10 years working with literally hundreds of SEO clients, and we're going to compact it all down into just one single video. Now, the SEO strategy that we're going to present here today is tried and true, and it's responsible for generating literally hundreds of millions of visitors over the years. But before we get started, I wanted to share a couple of common mistakes about SEO that we see in the DIY space. We see a lot of business owners just, randomly throwing backlinks at a site. They're writing, endless blogs, and they're posting content just all over the web, wondering why things just aren't working. But by crafting a solid strategy and taking a more holistic approach to SEO, you'll not only reduce the amount of time you have to spend on the various SEO activities, but you'll actually get more traffic, which will ultimately end up delivering you more leads and more sales for your business. All right, so let's jump into it. Each year, Google makes hundreds of changes to its SEO algorithm. Now, some of those updates are major, and they literally make the SEO industry stand up and take notice, whilst other changes that they come out with are fairly minor, and look, let's be honest, they barely even make a ripple. It can definitely feel like you're running on a bit of a hamster wheel, trying to keep up with all these Google changes. And look, I have to agree, there's a lot to take in and analyze when it comes to these SEO updates. However, with all these changes going on, some things just haven't changed. Basically, what's driving Google rankings today is mostly the same as it has been for the last 10 years. And those two elements are links and content. But don't just take our word for it. Here's a study done by Ahrefs that shows the correlating factors of high search engine rankings. So, what does that mean? So, in simple terms, what this means is when you look at the influence of the combined page backlink factors and the domain backlink factors compared to the weightings of the on-page factors, it's pretty clear that links absolutely dominate. So in short, your website's position in the search engine rankings is mainly affected by your website's backlink profile. So think of a link as a vote, or in other words, an endorsement for your website. So based on this study alone, and look, many others like it, it's pretty obvious that links are still the number one driving factor behind high Google search engine rankings. So really, for all the chatter about how hard it is to keep up with the changes and how hard SEO is actually getting, it turns out that the basics are still where it's at for SEO in 2020 and beyond. Over the last few years, we've seen Google put a huge focus on trying to better understand the meaning of the content on a web page and how it relates to the person searching and their actual intent. So what we've got to always keep in mind is that the goal of Google is to ensure a high user experience. And in the search world, that means matching a user's query to the best possible answer available. Therefore, if Google can rank a page based on the likelihood that it'll answer the user's query, then Google goes a long way towards delivering on their user experience goal. Now, even with the importance of links as demonstrated earlier, this is why there is now not just a focus on the voting power of links, but also on the actual content on the web page. Look, there's no doubt that Google is getting just smarter and smarter and smarter. They're not just looking at searches on a keyword by keyword basis. They're actually looking at the intent behind the search, and they also now understand that many different keywords can in fact have exactly the same intent. And that's why, gone are the days of having to build out different web pages for each of your main keywords. What you now need to focus on is building pages based on entire topics, not just individual keywords. So, as an example, with old school search engine optimization, you used to have to build out pages for each keyword grouping. Now, as an example, if you were a tennis coach, you may need to build pages for the keywords tennis coaching, tennis lessons, local tennis coach, or learn to play tennis. Now, Google now understands that these search terms are all basically the same thing. So you can just create the one page and you'll rank for a ton of keyword variations. And that's why pages with longer content tend to rank better, and that's because there's a greater chance that the page will fully explain the answer to the user's query. So overall, the best way to rank in Google now is to become an authority in your niche. So how do you become an authority in the eyes of Google? Now, there are three key factors that we look at here. Number one is you have to have a breadth of topic. Now, this means you have to have, or you have to address a wide range of content throughout your web pages. But the best way to do this is to always look at trying to answer the questions that your audience needs answered. Now, number two is the depth of topic. And this means content that goes into detail and addresses the answers at length that your audience is asking, not just a short paragraph or two. And finally, number three is quality links. Again, as we've mentioned earlier, links are still the strongest weighted ranking factor, but you can't ignore the quality of the link. The quality of the link is so much more important than it used to be. So my advice is spend some time on sourcing fewer high quality links than spending your time on trying to get lots of low quality links. Now, in the past, what we refer to now as old school SEO was actually really focused on only two things, and that was keywords and rankings. Now, previously, it was commonly thought that if you rank number one for your product or service keywords, then you won the game of SEO. But if you didn't rank number one, then you were losing the SEO game. Now, unfortunately, this is a really short-sighted view of SEO and certainly not how SEO really works today. And holding on to this old school mindset is not how to win the SEO game in 2020 and beyond. Now, as we looked at earlier, if links are the biggest ranking factor, it's going to be pretty difficult to drive towards being number one if no one is going to want to link to your product or services page. Look, it's going to be difficult to get link equity to your site if you don't have anything cool to link to. So the big question is, so what do you do? You now need to adopt a new school SEO approach. So what's new school SEO? Look, it's pretty simple. It's more about driving traffic instead of just straight out rankings. And it's about topics rather than just keywords. Now, new SEO also needs to take into consideration your customer's journey, which means that while it's great to rank your product and service pages for the end of the buying cycle keywords, the majority of your traffic is actually going to come from mid or what we call early cycle keywords. Now, mid and early cycle keywords are the keywords people are searching for before they're ready to buy. In other words, it's basically the questions that your customers are asking every day about your particular product or service. So when you build out your quality content, you end up capturing way more traffic and you position yourself as an authority, which builds trust and the relationship with your audience. It's the good old know, like, and trust factor that we talk about when using video that's popping up again and again. And this time it's popping up in the world of SEO. And that's exactly what this SEO plan is set out to do. Build the know, like, and trust factor. And if you follow it, you should see massive gains in targeted traffic, leads, and ultimately sales through your website. All right, so enough with all the context behind new school SEO. So what are the actual actionable steps you can take to create your own SEO strategy? Now here at SBIM, when we work with any SEO client, the first thing we do is start with an in-depth SEO audit, and we determine if there are any underlying issues that might end up derailing our efforts down the line. And I can't stress enough, you really do need a strong SEO foundation to build your SEO strategy upon. Now the next step, if you've noticed at any time that your website rankings have dropped, you'll need to check and see if you have any manual or algorithmic penalties, and that's done via your Google Webmaster Tools account. Now, one free online tool that we use is a Google penalty checker, and that's by Fruition, which you can find at fruition.net. Now, using this, you'll quickly be able to see if there's been any major drops in your traffic that could be related to a change in the Google algorithm. Now, based on the timing of the traffic drop and the reported Google update, you can pretty easily work out where you need to start fixing some of your SEO problems. But just remember that some Google penalties are harder to recover from than others. And a quick word of advice, look, please don't spend a lot of time trying to recover a doomed site, as some penalties you just won't recover from no matter what you do. So now that you've taken care of your SEO audit, it's time to jump into the 5-step SEO strategy battle plan. First off, you need to clearly define your target audience. Now, the question you need to be asking yourself is, who do you want to attract? Now, before doing any sort of marketing, whatever you're doing, you need to ask this question and clearly define your target market. Now, one of the exercises we do with our clients is we look at their existing client base and we identify the top 20% of clients. Now, these top 20% usually contributes about 80% of the total turnover. And the idea here is to define what characteristics make up those top 20% of the clients, and we go and find more of them. So defining who you actually want to target is going to help determine what topics you want to rank for and what kind of content you'll need to create. So the advice here is to listen to what your customers are saying and also listen to the broader market. So when we build out content, we think about what questions our customers may have or what's preventing them from actually engaging with us, stopping them from reaching out. Now, as an example, customers come to us and they often say, things like, I don't know what content to create. So what do? We create a video and an article about, for example, the top 10 sources for creating engaging content, something like that. And the next customer question or the next objection we might run into might be, okay, now I have my content, but how do I now go about promoting it? So what we'd do is, you guessed it, we'll shoot another video and create an article, and it might be something like, how to promote your content in 20 minutes a day, something along those lines. Now, this is a pretty simple process and it just goes on. And we just keep answering, their questions or addressing their concerns. And look, by doing this, we end up creating authority and trust. So when they're finally ready to buy, we already have a relationship with our audience. So by, really understanding your target market and creating custom content, you can answer their questions and help them solve their problems. And look, once you understand who you're trying to target, then it's time to find some keywords to target, which brings us to step 2 of your SEO strategy, and that's keyword research. Now, contrary to popular belief, keyword research doesn't actually have to be, doesn't have to be hard at all. In fact, it's pretty easy. Now, when looking at your keywords, divide them into 2 groups. The first group of keywords are the ones that you're already targeting, and the second group are keywords that you're not already targeting. Now, the first thing you should be looking at is achieving easy wins, or in other words, going after some low-hanging fruit. Now, these easy wins or low-hanging fruit comes from looking at your group 1 keywords and finding those keywords that you're already ranking for, which have a decent search volume. You may not necessarily be at number 1, but you may be on page low on the page 1 or on page 2. And these are the keywords that Google already sees you as being relevant for, and you don't just rank on the first page or the top 3 just yet. So by optimizing the pages for these keywords and sending more links to them, you can increase your rankings a lot faster than a totally new keyword. So use keyword tools such as Mangools, and you can find that at mangools.com. It's really, really good, and they got a free trial. That'll help you identify which of the keywords you're ranking for, and you can target those as your easy wins or your low-hanging fruit. All right, next you need to go out and find the keywords you're not yet targeting, and you do that by using a technique we call a competitive gap analysis. So what's a competitive gap analysis? Basically what you do is you go out and find the websites of all your competitors, and what you should be looking for are both direct and indirect competitors. So what's the difference? For example, a direct competitor sells the exact same products as you do, while an indirect competitor are other businesses in your industry that don't sell the same products, but they actually sell to the same audience as you do. An example of this would be, say, a kitchen business that sells things like tapwares and sinks and splashbacks and the like. They could have a indirect competitor like a bathroom business that also sells things like tapwares, basins and baths, etc. They sell to the same audience, which are renovators and builders. Okay, so I hope you see the difference between those two. So once you have a list of all these competitors, make a list of all the keywords that they rank for, and then exclude the ones that you rank for, okay? Again, use the mangools.com, the tool at mangools.com.au to find all these competitor keywords. Now, what you'll end up with is, a pretty huge list of keywords to target for which you can then build out quality content for. But don't forget, you'll want to apply some filters to that list of keywords, otherwise you'll end up with just far too many. And what you'll need to do is exclude low volume search keywords or really highly competitive keywords. And once again, use the mangools.com tool to find the search volume, and also a thing we call competitive strength of each keyword. That's really important too. Now, once you've run through this process, you now have a valuable list of keywords that are actually worth targeting. Now, next, you need to either optimize your current content for those keywords that you want to target, or create absolutely brand new content. A quick tip here: when doing your keyword research, don't be afraid of choosing those longer tail keywords, those longer keywords you see, because these long tail keywords, or key phrases as we often call them, can actually have a greater intent and tend to convert a lot better. Now that you've done all the research, you now need to actually create the content and make sure your web pages are optimized. And that brings us to step number 3, and that's on-page optimization. Now, on-page optimization means taking care of things like your meta tags and your title tags, and your meta descriptions, your URL header tags, and all of your images, amongst other things. The focus here should be about building out in-depth content that clearly answers your audience's questions. It's actually best to focus on creating longer content of 1,000+ words rather than sort of just skimming over the content. The best advice I can give here is to go deep. Okay, so with the list of keywords you created earlier, now go and build out your content focused on those keywords, and make sure to add internal links from your other pages that you've already created to the new content. Don't just rely on your main navigation to link to the content, okay? And you also need to make sure that your pages are easy to navigate and get your visitors to what they're looking for quickly. Now, a quick tip here is to take a look at other high-ranking websites, don't necessarily have to be in your niche, and try to model those pages in terms of the content length, the layout, and also the design. Now, you also need to think about user experience. Now, if users are landing on your pages and immediately bouncing back to the search results, that's a negative user experience signal. Now, what we've got to remember is that Google is all about a good user experience. You want to make sure people are staying on your pages and continue consuming your site's content, okay? So think about adding a variety of content, including video, to encourage engagement. Now, if you're running, say, an e-commerce site, you'll need to not only take care of all your content pages, but you'll also need to take care of your individual product pages as well. Now, to do that, you essentially follow, exactly the same process as, optimizing for your regular content pages, but you'll need to pay particular attention to creating unique product descriptions for absolutely every product that's listed in your online store. You just can't be lazy on this one. You have to spend the time on creating unique product descriptions, particularly if, the products that you're selling are not exclusive to you. You just can't have the same, product descriptions as all your other competitors and expect to outrank them. Now that your keywords and content are taken care of, we can focus on step 4 of your strategy, and that's link building. Now, link building can sometimes get a bit of a bad rap, but if you go back and look at the data that we showed earlier, links are really what's driving rankings, okay? And one of the more common mistakes we see many website owners making is underestimating the actual number of links they're going to need to rank. And the other mistake we see is getting penalized for actually over-optimizing their anchor text. And they end up creating what we call an unnatural link profile. So when you start out on the link building part of this strategy, this is what we suggest. The first thing you should consider is start off building links that are just focused around your domain and brand. And that means, don't use any exact match or commercial anchors, okay? Now, domain or brand links are just that, they're your business name or your company name and your website address as the anchor text. So for example, www.yourwebsite.com might be the anchor, or just yourwebsite.com. Okay, that's the anchor text, that's the link text. You also need to look at building up your social profiles as well, like your Facebook page, your LinkedIn page, or Instagram. The reason for that is, when you build social profiles, this shows that you're actually an active brand, and you'll be receiving both inbound links and social signals all at the same time. Step number 2, you need to create in-content links. Now, this is all about creating content on third-party sites, or as they're commonly called, user-generated content sites. Here, you'll also want to create a mix of brand, domain, and a thing we're going to add in, also low competition links using the long tail variations that we spoke about that you found in your keyword research. All right, step number 3 is to now move on to creating high powered links. So after you've built a substantial base of domain and business name links, you need to start adding in quality high powered links. which contain those close or exact match anchors we mentioned before. So remember that you should never repeat the same anchor twice, okay? Just switch it up to something slightly different each time to keep the variety. And look, a great way to create those links is to do guest posts on other authority blogs, okay? So sometimes we see sites that have a decent amount of links, but they're still not ranking. And a lot of the times that's because they don't actually have the quality of links that they need to be trustworthy in the eyes of Google. Look, the problem is simply, they haven't built a lot of high trust links yet. And look, if this is the case, what you want to do is focus on getting in content links from high trustworthy publications. Look, easier said than done, but a word of advice here, you need to be patient and consistent, okay? Set yourself a routine and just simply keep adding these types of links month after month after month while, making sure you keep changing your anchor text each time, with different long tails and slight variations, okay? You'll also want to avoid a couple of mistakes that we see, all the time. And the first one is anchor text ratios, okay? Now, the biggest problem we keep seeing are website owners over-optimizing, I should say, their anchor text. Okay, you just can't keep, stuffing your links with keyword-rich anchor text these days. And the reason for that, it's just not natural. And that's not how, the everyday person in the street uses links to reference content on the web anymore. They're not using keyword-rich anchors. So stop worrying about anchor text ratios and just go all out on brand and domain links with using a wide variety of long tail anchor text. Okay, that'll serve you better. So as an example, get as many domain and brand links as you possibly can, and only add a handful of those exact match anchors. Okay. So I'm talking probably no more than say 5 links for every 100 need to be exact match. All right, so that's 5%. Now, you'll never get penalised for having, a too diverse portfolio of links, but you will get penalised if you have too many exact match anchors. All right. Now, the other mistake we see is, just simply giving up too soon. SEO takes time, because Google takes time to review and index your site and go through the process. It can take weeks, after, building powerful links to even see the results in the search engine rankings. Now, your site can in fact, bounce around. It can go up and down for a number of months, before it starts to hold down a regular spot within the search engine rankings. So if your site, does happen, to get stuck and it's not moving up or down either, the advice is just don't stop. You need to just keep building more and more and more diversified links. All right, this now brings us to step 5 of your SEO strategy, and that is measuring your results. I mean, there's no question about it. SEO definitely takes time, all right? It'd be awesome if you could just, build links one day and see the results the next, but, Google just doesn't work like that. So make sure you set your expectations for the long haul. And don't be put off if it takes a few months to start, seeing results. In fact, the newer your site, usually the longer it will take to see the results of your hard link building work. Now, we typically tell our SEO customers that, temper expectations for a minimum of 3 months and then, reassess the progress. Your traffic reports from Google Analytics are a great source of SEO result data. And you can again use the tool at mangools.com to track your ranking results. Just remember, fluctuations are normal, okay? But what you are looking for is, an upward trend over time. All right. So that just about brings us to the end of your SEO strategy. Hopefully now you can see how effective a well-rounded SEO strategy can be if you take all these SEO elements into consideration. Now, by following this plan and just being consistent, you will end up with the results you're looking for. The process that I've just outlined is the exact same strategy that we use to manage our own SEO and that of all our clients. So if you'd like help with your SEO, just jump onto the website at sbim.com.au/SEO, fill in the form or just give us a call. Until next time, best of luck with your SEO strategy.